Hello and welcome back to the deep dive. I'm going to be completely honest with you right off the bat. The energy is different today. The vibe has shifted.
Oh, yeah.
Because as of, I think, approximately 4 hours ago, I have officially, legally, and spiritually resigned from my job in retail.
No way. You actually did it. You finally handed in the notice.
Handed it in. I practically, slammed it on the counter like I was staggering a boss in Final Fantasy. I am free. I am done. I am so fucking glad to see the back of it.
I can literally hear the relief in your voice. It sounds like a massive, massive weight has been lifted.
You have no idea. No more. The customer is always right. No more folding shirts that someone immediately unfolds 5 seconds later. No more of those soulless fluorescent lights just draining my HP bar second by second.
Okay, but I have to ask, given that you've just escaped the purgatory of inventory management and angry customers, why on earth did you choose this specific topic for today?
Because the universe has a sick sense of humor. That's why.
How so?
I quit my job dealing with stock and supply chains.
Yeah.
Only to come here today to do a deep dive into a document that is literally about inventory management, retail networks, and fighting these, brainless zombies called ghouls.
Life rhymes, doesn't it?
It rhymes with pain. But yes, today we are unpacking the piggyback strategy guides for Final Fantasy XIII.
A classic.
And we aren't just, reviewing the game. We are analyzing how this specific guide deconstructs the game's systems. We're looking at Chapter 3, the weapon upgrade mechanics, and how the game transitions you from what is basically tutorial mode to the true battle engine.
And that distinction is so vital for this game. Final Fantasy XIII is, it's a divisive game, to say the least.
Oh, for sure.
It's infamous for being a hallway simulator for the first, 20 hours?
At least.
But when you look at the source material, this guide, you see just how incredibly dense the mathematical systems actually are, just humming away right underneath that hallway.
Right.
The guide is trying to bridge that gap between a casual player who just wants to see the story and someone who's basically a systems engineer.
Exactly. So you should consider this deep dive my therapy session. We are going to analyze this guide, we're going to break down the mechanics of Lake Brescia, and I am going to project all of my retail trauma onto these game mechanics.
I'm here for it.
Let's get into it.
So let's start with the physical artifact itself. The guide. It makes a huge deal about its own layout. It talks about these vertical tabs on the right-hand margin, as if they reinvented reading.
Oh my God, yes. A navigational tool designed to help you find your way. It's a tab, it's a bookmark. We've had these for centuries. But what really triggered me, right out of the gate, was the paranoia. Did you catch the warning about the extras chapter?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
It explicitly advises players to avoid the extras section, which has all the good stuff, side quests, achievements, secrets, until after the first playthrough.
And it categorizes spoilers into low, medium, and high levels.
Like it's a government document or something.
It's treated like a state secret. We strongly advise that players avoid this section. Why all the secrecy? Usually, a strategy guide is there to tell you everything. That's the point. Why hide the content you just paid $20 for?
Well, I think it speaks to the era this game came out in, and also just the nature of the game itself. Final Fantasy XIII is incredibly linear and narrative heavy. So the guide writers, they know that if you just casually flip to the back and see a trophy named Defeat Orphan on the Steps of Eden, you've just, ruined the entire plot.
You've spoiled the ending.
Exactly. They are trying to curate your experience. They want you to have the pure narrative run first, and then the completionist run second. It's a very specific philosophy of play.
I wish real life had that. Warning. Asking this customer how their day is going has a high spoiler level for a 20-minute rant about their divorce.
That would be genuinely useful, actually.
Right.
But there's another layer to this paranoia. Look at the strategy and analysis chapter 1. It says this section exposes hidden mechanics, but warns it reveals more than you care to know.
More than you care to know. That phrase haunts me. That was my entire experience working retail. I knew more than I cared to know about the supply chain of polyester blends, about profit margins on socks. But in the context of the game, what are they hiding? Is the math really that scary?
Honestly.
Yeah.
It's pretty complex. The game hides a lot of numbers from you, like the exact damage multipliers, the chain decay rates, stagger thresholds for specific enemies.
So all the stuff that actually matters.
All the stuff that lets you optimize. The guide is basically saying, look, if you want to play optimally and break the game, look here. If you want to maintain the illusion of magic and cool summons, then don't.
It creates a dichotomy.
Yeah, between two types of players. What you might call the narrative tourist and the optimizer.
Well, after my last few months, I'm definitely the optimizer now. I have no patience left in my body. I want pure efficiency.
I get that.
Speaking of efficiency, let's talk about the map system. The guide has these things called walkthrough waypoints. And it drops this incredible line. It says, "We usually assume that you will diligently loot each one without further instruction."
Diligently loot. It's such a specific phrase. It turns exploration into a chore, doesn't it?
It sounds like a job description. The ideal candidate must be able to diligently loot all treasure spheres in a timely manner. It's not go out and explore and find cool stuff. No, it's a task. It's exactly like a manager telling you, "I assume you will stock the shelves without me having to tell you."
I mean, to be fair, it reflects the game's design, though.
How so?
In Final Fantasy XIII, you really aren't exploring a world, not in the traditional sense. You're moving down the conveyor belt. The loot is just, it's sitting there on the path.
Right in front of you.
Yeah. So if you miss it, it's not because you're exploring poorly. You're just failing to perform a basic function. You literally just didn't walk forward enough.
You're slacking on the shift. You missed a spot. Okay, now, before we get to the real meat of Chapter 3, we have to talk about the training wheels phase, Chapters 1 and 2. The source material describes the opening fight with the Manastin Warmech, that big scorpion robot thing.
Right. This is the first real boss encounter, the first big set piece.
And what is the grand galaxy brain strategy the guide offers for this terrifying mechanical beast?
Let me guess.
Use the auto battle command to pummel the Annihilator.
There it is. It's deceptively simple, and honestly, it's the biggest criticism of the game, that for long stretches, it kind of plays itself.
It's insulting. I quit my job to come home and play a game where the recommended strategy is let the computer play the game for you. What's the point?
Hold on, though. There is a little bit of nuance there that the guide highlights. It's not just hitting X.
Go on.
It talks about the panic threshold. It says, and I'm quoting here, if you notice her HP gauge slip into the low yellow area, and especially so it's red, quickly select the items menu and use a potion.
Right. Because, and this is so critical, if the leader dies, it's game over.
Use simple. Game over.
Even if your other two party members are at full health, ready to go.
Which is a very, very polarizing design choice. In older Final Fantasy games, if Cloud went down, you just had Tifa use a Phoenix down on him, no big deal. Here, if lightning gets hit too hard, the screen just fades to black. It creates this very artificial tension.
It creates anxiety. It's like if the store manager takes a lunch break, the entire store just has to shut down. Sorry, manager, lightning is in the red. Everybody get out.
But think about why they might have done that from a design perspective. It forces you to prioritize survival over just raw damage. You can't just trade blows and hope you come out on top. The guide emphasizes what it calls judicious use of restoratives. You have to anticipate the damage spike before it happens and heal preemptively.
Judicious use. I love the vocabulary in this guide. It tries so hard to make spamming potions when you're about to die sound elegant and tactical.
It's all about the presentation.
Then there's the blitz mechanic. This is in a little sidebar called using the blitz attack.
Ah, yes. Your first real lesson in what you might call action economy.
Explain that.
Well, blitz is an area of effect, or AoE attack. It hits multiple enemies, but it costs 2 ATD active time battle segments, so it's more expensive than a basic attack.
The source says it's great for the Pantherons and Wardens because they come at you in a close formation, so lightning can hit all three at once.
Right, maximum value.
But then it warns, and this is that efficiency thing again, it says, a blitz assault on a solitary opponent is wasteful.
Because the math doesn't check out. 2 standard attacks, each costing 1 ATB segment, would do more total damage to a single target than 1 blitz that costs 2 segments.
So the game is secretly teaching you math. 2 times 100 damage is better than 1 times 150 damage.
Pretty much. And then it drops this line, which I love. It says, the auto battle AI is usually efficient at recognizing this.
Usually.
That's the keyword.
Usually efficient. That is the most backhanded compliment I have ever heard in my life. That's pure performance review language. Employee is usually efficient at not setting the store on fire.
It's the guide's polite way of signaling to the player that while auto battle is competent, it's not optimal.
It's not perfect.
Not at all. If you want to be that strategy and analysis player, you need to be inputting commands manually. You need to recognize when the AI is about to waste your ATB gauge on a dumb blitz against a single enemy and correct it yourself.
So what you're saying is the AI is the lazy employee. You, the player, have to micromanage it.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Which brings us finally to Chapter 3. The source material calls this the major turning point.
Yeah, the line is, the shape and texture of the true battle engine first becomes apparent.
I love that. Shape and texture. So we're in Lake Brescia now. We've left the hanging edge. The training wheels are maybe not off, but they're loosening. This is the introduction of the paradigm system.
This is the core of Final Fantasy XIII. And honestly, it's where the game shifts from a simple RPG to more of a management simulator.
A management simulator. Okay, explain that. Because when I read this section, all I saw was a corporate org chart.
Well, look at the restrictions. The source says, and this is crucial, characters can only use abilities specific to their current assigned role. So if you are a commando, you fight. If you are a medic, you heal. You cannot do both at the same time.
It explicitly says, Vanille cannot use Cure while operating as a Ravager. That is literally word for word. That's not my job description.
Yes.
You're bleeding out. Sorry, man, I'm clocked in as a Ravager right now. I can't help you. You need to submit a ticket to a medic.
It's extreme compartmentalization. But it forces you, the player, to stop thinking about casting a spell and start thinking about shifting departments.
Yeah.
You aren't playing the character anymore. You are directing the team. You're the manager.
So let's look at these departments. We have the Commando, or COM.
The commando is your physical hitter, your bread and butter damage dealer. But the source points out a really crucial hidden mechanic here. It's not just about doing big damage numbers.
What else is there?
Commando attacks, and only commando attacks, slow down the depletion of the chain gauge.
The orange timer bar that dictates how much bonus damage you do. The stagger bar.
Exactly. If you only use magic, which is the Ravagers, the chain gauge goes up really fast, but it also falls really, really fast the second you stop attacking. You need a commando in there to stabilize the chain, to make it sticky.
So the Commando is the project manager.
Go on.
They make sure the work actually sticks. They keep the project on track so the creatives can do their thing without everything falling apart.
That's a great analogy. Which brings us to the Ravager, or RV.
These are the creatives. They use fire, wind, ice. The guide says their job is to drive the chain gauge up rapidly to cause stagger.
These are your specialists. High output, high speed. They build the numbers up, they make the pretty explosions. But without the commando, their work just evaporates into thin air.
It's all for nothing. Then we have the medic, MED. The guide says they have no combat capabilities, pure healing.
That's HR.
100% HR. They come in, they patch you up, they tell you to take a deep breath and remember the company values, and then they send you right back into the line of fire.
Perfect. And finally, the Sentinel, or SEN.
The tank. The guide calls them damage sponges. Their job is to attract attacks.
They're the meat shields.
The Sentinel is the poor guy they send to the customer service desk to deal with the Karen who wants to return a toaster from 2004 without a receipt.
That's a very specific image.
Here, Snow, you take this verbal abuse while the rest of us actually do the work.
I mean, that is Snow's role in both the story and the mechanics, honestly. He takes the hits so that people who are actually useful don't have to.
Okay, so the guide talks about strategic configurations or paradigm decks. It mentions relentless assault, which is like Commando, Ravager, Ravager, the standard aggression mode.
All out attack.
But then it gets into what I call the Snow problem. I found this part fascinating. The guide essentially tells you that the default setting the game gives you is just wrong.
Yes. It says the default paradigm has Snow set as a Sentinel, which it describes as too defensive for this stage of the game.
Too defensive. The game itself thinks you're scared. The guide is like, no, you need to be aggressive. You're playing wrong.
And it recommends a specific paradigm called diversity.
Right. What's the lineup for that one?
It's Lightning is Commando, Snow is Ravager, and Vanilla is Medic.
Okay, so why is this better? Why is Sentinel Snow bad here?
It all comes down to throughput and efficiency. If you have a Sentinel in your party this early, you're losing 1/3 of your damage output entirely. Snow is just standing there, blocking and taunting. He's not contributing to the stagger gauge.
He's not moving the project forward.
Exactly. With diversity, Snow is actively hitting things as a Ravager, Lightning is stabilizing the chain as the Commando, and Vanilla is back there keeping everyone alive as the Medic. It's a balanced workflow where everyone is contributing to the end goal.
The end goal being the dead enemy.
The dead enemy.
A balanced workflow? God, I'm having flashbacks to team meetings. But it makes perfect sense. The guide is teaching you that safety first is not always the best policy. Sometimes you need to maximize your throughput, even if it means taking on a little more risk.
And that's the deep dive into the mechanics right there.
Yes.
The game itself doesn't explicitly tell you, hey, by the way, Snow is wasting his time as a sentinel right now.
Nope.
The guide has to tell you that. It demands that you analyze the efficiency of your employees and adjust their roles accordingly.
Okay, I want to move on to the inventory section now, because this is where the retail trauma really, really hits home for me.
I can imagine.
The intro to the inventory chapter claims it will demystify and deconstruct the hugely important weapon and accessory upgrade system.
Demystify. That word implies there's a mystery. And let me tell you, there is. For good reason.
But why is it a mystery? Why does upgrading a sword need to be demystified? In most games, you buy the iron sword, then you save up and buy the steel sword. Done. It's a straight line.
In Final Fantasy XIII, it's not a straight line. It's more like a flowchart designed by a sadist. You have components. You find things like screws, circuits, organic slime.
Right, the loot.
And some of these components give experience points, or XP, to the weapon to level it up. But, and this is the key, some other components give a temporary multiplier to the XP you gain.
A multiplier.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you just dump all your XP items into the weapon first, and then use the multiplier item, you've completely wasted the multiplier. You have to use the multiplier items first to get a 2x or 3x bonus, and then feed it all the XP components.
So the order of operations matters?
Critically. It is literally a math problem. It's a spreadsheet disguised as a crafting bunch.
Oh my god. And the guide mentions buying these components from retail networks.
That phrase again. It keeps coming.
Retail networks. You are in a high-tech, magic-fueled dystopia. You're running from the government. You're fighting against fate itself. And you still have to log into a digital Amazon to buy screws and bolts. It's so mundane. It's so brutally corporate.
It really grinds the fantasy down to a gritty reality, doesn't it? But look at the specific loot you get in Chapter 3. This is where the game quietly teaches you about character builds without ever using a tutorial pop-up.
You're talking about the iron bangle.
The iron bangle, found in a treasure sphere. It's the first accessory you get, and all it does is increase your max HP by 50.
50 HP? I mean, that sounds pathetic. At this point, Lightning has hundreds of HP. Why do I even care about 50?
Because at this specific stage, it's huge. It might be a 10 or 15% buffer. Remember that panic threshold we talked about from the Warmech fight?
The yellow and red zones in the health bar.
The difference between low yellow and game over might be exactly those 50 hit points. That bangle is what lets you survive a big hit that would have otherwise ended the fight.
So the iron bangle is your safety net. It's the difference between getting fired and just getting a written warning.
Essentially. But now contrast that with the other big item you find here. The Pearlwing Staff.
Ah, yes. Found at the fork in the road. The guide says go left that way. Pro tip, always go left.
The guide notes that this item gives Vanille a nice boost to her magic staff, but it also causes a large drop in her strength stat.
A large drop. See, that seems insane to me. Why would I want an item that actively makes my character weaker in some way?
Because it's defining her role for you. The game is shouting at you through its itemization. Vanille is not a commando. She is a magic user.
So don't have her hit things.
Right. If you try to make her a physical attacker, you are playing suboptimally. The loot is the tutorial. It's pushing you toward a certain build.
That's actually really interesting. So the equipment itself is telling you, stop trying to make Vanille do physical labor. She's in the creative department, leave her alone.
Exactly. It optimizes her for the Ravager role or the medic role. It's forcing specialization on you, whether you realize it or not.
I want to talk about the enemies for a second, the bestiary section of the guide. Because the way the guide describes these enemies, I'm not kidding, I felt a kinship. I felt like I recognized these people from my time on the sales floor.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Walk me through the retail bestiary of Lake Brescia.
All right, first up we have the Ghoul and the Ghast. The guide literally calls them cannon fodder.
Just slow, mindless, easy to kill, the basic zombies.
These are the customers who just wander in, touch every single item on a display, unfold every shirt, and then buy nothing and leave. They are just there to slow you down. You mow them down with auto battle. They are meaningless obstacles in your shift.
That's a grim view of humanity, but please go on.
Then you have the white. The source says, and I quote, high evasion probability, but weak once hit.
Right. They're hard to pin down, they're fragile, zip around.
This is the customer who is actively avoiding you. You make eye contact, you say, can I help you find anything? And they dart away into another aisle. High evasion, but once you corner them, they just crumble. Oh, I'm just looking. Whack. staggered.
Please tell me you did not whack the customers.
I can't anymore, I quit. That's the beauty of it. My hands are untied. Okay, then we have the SciComm Wardens versus the SciComm Enforcers. The guide says the Wardens fall to swift attacks, but the Enforcers are more resilient.
The Enforcers have guns and better armor, right? They're the first real tactical check in this area. You can't just mash X on them. You might actually need to heal.
Yes. These are the let me speak to your manager types. The Wardens are just asking for a simple refund. The Enforcers want corporate's phone number. You can't just auto-battle them. You have to pay attention. You have to switch paradigms to deal with their specific complaints.
This is an incredibly detailed metaphor you constructed.
I had a lot of time to think while restocking shelves.
Clearly. And this all leads up to the SciComm Marauder fight, which is the sub-boss of the area.
Yes, and the guide specifically points this out as the stagger tutorial. It actually says, we strongly recommend that you carefully study and digest the excellent tutorial on the chain gauge and stagger systems.
Digest the excellent tutorial. The guide writer really, really loved this.
We were so proud of it.
And they should be. It's a great system.
So staggering. In retail, staggering is when you confuse a customer with so much corporate policy and jargon that they just give up and leave. In Final Fantasy, it's filling up that yellow bar until they're helpless and take 500% damage.
It's all about pressure. That's the key insight here. What the Marauder fight teaches you. The chain gauge is constantly draining over time. If you stop attacking, even for a few seconds, the gauge resets to 0. You have to maintain constant, relentless pressure.
See, the parallels are endless. The chain gauge is just the customer's patience bar. You have to deplete it before they deplete yours.
I think you might be projecting a little too much now, but the core mechanic is same.
I'm 100% predicting.
It's about momentum. If you play passively in Final Fantasy XIII, you lose. If you play 2 defensively, the battle takes 20 minutes and you get a 1-star rating at the end. You have to push, push, push.
Momentum. That's what I have right now. I have momentum away from that job. But before we wrap up, I just need to address the tactical walkthrough waypoints.
The little markers on the map.
The guide talks about the blue swirling marker. It indicates jumping points. Simply run into it to begin the climb.
It's a context-sensitive action.
Yeah.
You can't jump whenever you want in this game. You can only jump where the game specifically tells you to jump.
And isn't that just the perfect metaphor for the corporate ladder?
Oh no.
You can only advance where there is a pre-approved blue swirling marker. You can't just climb the wall because you're skilled or you see a better way. No, you have to wait for the designated promotion zone to light up.
And if you miss the marker, you're just stuck on the Tressway forever.
Stuck on the air rail Tressway 11E for all eternity, just fighting Pantherons.
Speaking of the Pantherons, the guide notes they have high HP but easy to dispatch. They're just big sponges. Time wasters.
Well, browsers.
Yeah.
The ones who spend 3 hours in the fitting room and don't buy anything.
Got it.
So, looking at Chapter 3 as a whole, what is the synthesis here? We've gone from the training wheels of the Warmech fight to the true engine of Lake Brescia. What's the big picture?
I think the synthesis is that the game stops being a movie you press a button to occasionally watch. And it starts being a job you have to actively manage.
A job.
Yes. Chapter 3 is where you become a manager. You are managing the paradigms. You are managing the roles. You are managing the chain gauge. You aren't swinging the sword yourself. You are telling lightning when and how to swing the sword. You aren't casting the fire. You are telling snow to cast the fire. You are the conductor of the orchestra.
Or the shift supervisor of the paradigm jack.
Precisely. And the inventory system is your supply chain management. You need to acquire the iron bangle to keep your employees, in this case, lightning alive and productive. You need to source the pearling staff to make sure Vanille is operating at peak efficiency in her designated department.
And the guide is the corporate handbook. It's the binder they give you on your first day.
Exactly. It tells you, we assume you will diligently loot. It says, we assume you will use auto battle efficiently. It warns you against looking at the extras because you aren't cleared for that level of security clearance yet.
It's a complete system of control. The guide helps you navigate that system of control, but it also enforces it. It tells you the optimal route. It discourages any experimentation that isn't deemed efficient. God, it really is just work, isn't it?
All RPGs are work to some extent. Grinding is work. Inventory management is work. It's work that rewards you with pretty lights and numbers going up instead of, well, whatever you got at your retail job.
Minimum wage and a perpetually sore back. So, yeah, I'll take the pretty lights.
And I think that's the appeal, right? In Final Fantasy XIII, If you follow the guide, if you use the diversity paradigm, if you equip the iron bangle on the right person, you win. You beat the Psychon Marauders. You get the triumphant music and the cutscene. The effort has a guaranteed, predictable payout.
Unlike in retail networks where you can do everything perfectly right and still get yelled at because a coupon expired in 2019.
Exactly. The game is a fair system. It might be a complex one and a rigid one, but it's fair. The rules are consistent.
That's actually kind of comforting. In a weird, twisted, Stockholm Syndrome sort of way. It's a controlled environment where the rules, however complex they are consistent and understandable.
So as you walk away from your retail life and into your new, glorious, unemployed gamer life, what is the big takeaway from the guide's breakdown of Chapter 3?
The takeaway is check your equipment. Always check your equipment. Make sure you aren't playing the role of a sentinel when you should be a commando. And don't be afraid to change your paradigm, your whole strategy, when the situation changes.
And maybe avoid the extras chapter until you're ready for the spoilers in your own life.
And always, always loot diligently, because if you don't pick up that Persian sitting on the side of the hallway, nobody's going to pick it up for you.
Words to live by.
Thank you for joining us on this very special, very therapeutic deep dive. To my former employer, who I know doesn't listen to this because they once asked me how to open a PDF, fuck retail, fuck your retail networks. I'm going to go grind for iron bangles.
Good luck with the drop rates.
I'll see you next time.